Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. Also, check out the Tobin and Leroy show weekdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and you guys can catch that out on the 560 WQAM YouTube channel. Myself, Leroy Horde, we get after it every single weekday, and we have fun. It gets silly. You know what I'm talking about? But it is in the midst of training camp, ladies and gentlemen, and today, finally, we got to hear from the mystery man himself, the man everybody was waiting to hear from his big-time trade to the Miami Dolphins. How is he going to react? Is he happy here? We had no idea. There's been no social media posts. There's been no words. There's only been just kind of perusing around. He seems like he's interacting with his teammates. Okay, and then, of course, I am referring to Minkah Fitzpatrick getting dealt to the Miami Dolphins. Now, I talked about this on the channel on Saturday, and we were discussing the report from Omar Kelly that he had switched to Drew Rosenhaus, which I basically, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, well, he's about to get some kind of money. Like, this is definitely, you go with Drew Rosenhaus and you are in some way tied with the Miami Dolphins, you're going to get paid, or you're going to get somewhere where you're supposed to get paid. Drew Rosenhaus ends up reworking the deal. He basically gets money turned into a signing bonus. He gets his money for next year, and the Dolphins get to clear some cap space. After he gets this all worked out, he then speaks to the media, and he started off with a statement today, which I thought was interesting. That is not something that is common, but he basically wanted to put out misconceptions that he was upset about anything. And he says, I haven't addressed the media or posted on social media. I'm not a big social media guy. This in no way, shape, or form is an expression of frustration of coming back to Miami. I want to thank the city of Pittsburgh. They treated me very well. Play with some great teammates. It's unfortunate the way things ended. It's part of the business. I'm extremely excited to be a Miami Dolphin. My silence was not a reflection of how I felt about the team, the organization. I've been here in the building for about a week now. I'm extremely excited about this season. I think we have a very, very high ceiling. Playing with a lot of great guys. Organization I'm proud to be a part of. My silence had nothing to do with my feeling towards the Dolphins organization. And then he said, I'm not going to take any questions about my time in Pittsburgh, previous coaches, or anything like that, which he obviously did not want to speak about the Brian Flores situation or why he left. But I did think interesting. Minkah Fitzpatrick did make it known that he was, he did want to be in a place where he knew he was going to be this year and next year. So there was some element of business that I think he did want to get taken care of. Like, I do think that there was a level of that where it was like, oh, he wanted to know where he was going to be. He wanted that part to be taken care of probably before answering all these questions. And I understand, like, when it wasn't done and he gets to training camp and everybody's kind of waiting, like, he's the last player I think everybody's like really dying to hear from. I think that was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, it's not nothing, but I get it. I don't think it's like Minkah Fitzpatrick came to the Miami Dolphins and was like, I'm a Miami Dolphin again. Because, whatever issues there were with the Dolphins back then, whether it be role, whether it be they were tanking back then, whether it be coaching staff, all of those issues are gone now. I don't think that this guy had an issue with living in South Florida. I think that would be kind of strange. I think in December he's going to probably be, thankful of that, or February when he's not shoveling snow. But I did, I think that he was probably about as honest as he could be with all of this, because you go into this and you're just like, you go into this thing and it was like, I wanted to make sure that I was in a good spot and that it was, it was taken care of, and it's good to see that is taken care of, that this isn't one of those things that this isn't going to be a thing that I think bothers him. And then as far as the long-term future is concerned, if there is some long-term deal afterwards, but he said on it, he was like, I'm just trying to look at the transcript here. He says, I know it was reported that I want a new contract, but I just wanted to know that I was going to be here for more than one season, and I got that. Now I'm going to go out there and play all-pro, Pro Bowl level, hopefully earn the respect of my teammates, and then the organization, and we'll see if we could earn a long-term contract. So I thought that he knocked that out of the park. And then even, I got to say, he is, everybody is saying what an A-plus dude he has been through all of this. And certainly I know the Dolphin fans had a lot of hard feelings because you're just like, what do you mean? You don't want to be here anymore? Like, what is that? You know? And then you see this guy basically get like all the love and respect around the league, and he plays like one of the best safeties in the league. And it's interestingly enough, now you have another situation where somebody else made a stink you were super fired up to have here, and this guy returns here. But he did even say, you know, talking about his you know, what's the difference between him and rookie Minkah Fitzpatrick. And he can, you know, he owned some of it too. And he said that I'm more emotionally mature. Like I have the emotional maturity. I think he said, quote, I think I was very emotionally unintelligent back then. I learned from my mistakes and I tried to grow in that area. I tried to get to know people around me better, learn how to communicate, learn how not to communicate, and just stuff like that. And he says, letting the ego down, letting the pride down, understand that you're not going to be perfect, and having good people around you who are going to be honest with you, aren't afraid to keep it a buck. And that's what I was saying, growing and learning and working together. I mean, so even the idea of like, it's not him saying it was his fault, but I do think that in a way when you're giving that kind of response, saying like, yeah, maybe I was too hard on the situation. Maybe I was, you know, I wouldn't have handled it like that back then. And of course, like who isn't going to be a different person at 29 that they were at 22 or 23, you know, and trying to, and essentially when you start to try your career and you're trying to make your way in your career, as opposed to having some established years and proven track record of being awesome in your career. So I think all that stuff was really good. And I think it's going to be important. You know, this is one of those things in that secondary. It wasn't an impactful position last year. I think you had some fake leaders out there who were like, oh, yeah, we're going to get it done. And they didn't do jack squat for the Dolphins. You had others who were like, you know, in that spot where they were trying to prove and get their contract. And it just wasn't an impactful place for Miami last year. And I don't think we got the full gauge of it yet because Melifonwu's not there. So hopefully, you know, once he gets healthy, that'll get the Dolphins in a better spot. But certainly somebody's got to be doing some communicating when you got all these people coming together, all these new guys trying to get their footing. I kind of feel like Minkah Fitzpatrick's going to put his foothold as a leader on this team pretty quickly. I don't think this is going to be one of those things where, because even he said, he was like, you know, I don't want to come in here and something to the effect of, he was like, I don't want to come in here and just start like chirping left and right and be, you know, assume that I'm the verbal leader. But I got to imagine that it's, you know, you have the credentials of him, kind of like Calais Campbell. Like, I feel like it's going to probably take care of itself. He had that sick-ass interception over the weekend, and you're just like, not used to that. And then Mike McDaniel said something interesting today about this, too, where he was like, he talked about the idea of this getting done, and then he kind of threw a little shade. It was like a little shade towards the, you know, maybe the other fat cats on the team or the fat cats who have left the team, you know, who maybe have made a stink in the past about their contracts. And right now the Miami Dolphins had this contract situation and they have the Zach Sealer situation. And Zach Sealer appears to be not, he doesn't appear like he's going to make a stink. Will something change? Maybe. Maybe it will. Maybe he gets to a place where he is, he feels like he needs to make another chess move. Again, he probably has the right agent to do it, but he said, he says, I really understand the individual players. This is Mike McDaniel. I'm very heavily invested in each and every guy, and I get pumped anytime business happens. I get even more pumped when the specific individual shows me, doesn't talk to me, but shows me that he understands the critical factor in professional football, that all things must be justified by football play. So whatever contract is going on, the important thing is that our team is getting better at football, and that's what the focus is on. I'm most pumped because I think this situation where we were playing football, Minkah Fitzpatrick was steadily learning the defense, taking command in his leadership role, and a bunch of people were like, oh, there was business going on, something got done. I think that's the way a football team wins in this league. So I'm happy about it. And I don't think that's such a subtle way in a head coach who certainly has probably been frustrated with maybe some sweetener deals or sweetener treatment biting him in the ass, of having somebody in his locker room that gets his money, gets that focused on, checks that off, and now can just go ball. Because I do think, like, even the fans, I think, are getting to a point of frustration. Like, another guy is not satisfied with his contract and he just wants to be at the Dolphins, because the Dolphins are probably either going to roll over or trade you to a place that will get you to where you need to be, and the results will still be 8 or 9, 9 and 8. And I think you could even see with Mike McDaniel, where he says that he is individually invested in these guys, and he's mentioned about guys getting paid and all that stuff, and having that investment in them and taking a part in that. The Tua contract, remember, it was said that, I know Mike McDaniel went to bat for me in those contract talks. But even Tua, like, it did become, I don't want to say a circus, but it definitely became a thing where Tua's got to make statements at minicamp where he's like, oh, the market is the market. And, it still didn't really pay off for the Dolphins yet, because Tua missed a lot of time last year. So anybody who was a skeptic and was wary of paying him, so far those skeptics have been proven right. And I am one of those that I was like, yeah, I was for paying the guy, but he's got a lot of proving to do this year. So I think for McDaniel, it's probably just a breath of fresh air. That Minka, it was just like, I'm not saying anything until it's done, one way or the other. And so now that this thing is done and feels like he's in a comfortable spot, now it's all the way ready, all the way 100%, and you can talk about it because you feel like you have some clarity on it. And I'm sure, like he said, it's not like he was thrilled to get dealt by Pittsburgh. I think he probably did feel a little bit hurt by it. And you do have to gather those feelings and bring it where I'm like, I'm going where? Oh, I'm going back to where I was. I'm sure it did feel weird and awkward for Minkah Fitzpatrick too. I'm sure it wasn't all like sunshine and roses. So the hope is, hey, the knock now is, hey, are you still that same guy? Are you still the guy that hightailed it out of Miami and didn't have the emotional maturity to get to where you are in Pittsburgh, where you're winning all pros? Can you still make that kind of an impact on your team? Because I do think the other cool thing that he mentioned today was that as much as he's done individually, he was like, yeah, but I haven't really done anything on a good team. I haven't really done any real winning yet. And so I thought that was interesting, because it's like, oh, okay, well, so he's still shooting for something. This isn't complete fat cat mode where it's like, oh, whatever. I was a Steeler, guys. Because it's like, you weren't like 6 Super Bowl Steelers. You weren't steel curtain Steelers. You weren't those Steelers. And so I think that still brings you to an element of, all right, there is, and he said, I haven't won a playoff game, haven't been to a Super Bowl, haven't won a conference championship, so there's a lot that I still want to accomplish. So it's like, you bring this guy in, and maybe in the last run, it was like, oh, yeah, Jalen Reynolds, bring that Super Bowl experience. It's like, yeah, cool, but, not really. Didn't really pay off for anything. So, maybe this is the way to go for Minka. Maybe this will be where he is able, where it all started, be able to be the place where he can make a real impact. But it's good to see that this seems to be now put at peace.